Welcome back to Business Breakfast in Bedhead. I actually do these live calls on Instagram. I would love for you to come and hang out with me at them. So if you don't already follow me at Dawn Bradley, DAWNBRADLEY, should have made a song about that. Go follow me there because then you can take part in these live calls and can actually chat with me. But if you can't make them, no sweat. Now they're going to be here. So welcome to Business Breakfast in Bedhead. Buckle up, friend, and let's dive in. I overthink, I overshare, and I overanalyze. So come explore with me as I chat about business, life, and relationships, all through the lens of an anxious creative. If you're still emotionally discounting, if you struggle with that feeling of guilt or like, oh my gosh, my client's gonna freak out on me, or there's no way that they'll pay this much, or what if they're mad, or what if they think this is too much, well, this is a live for you. Good morning and welcome to Business Breakfast in Bedhead. I'm your host, Dawn Bradley, and I'm so excited to talk about this. I know the stress, the overwhelm, the fear, and the conflict avoidance that you're experiencing in your business. I was there once too, and I'm really excited to help you out. So I want to share a quick story with you about emotionally discounting, but before I do, I just want to remind you guys that this is a safe space and a judgment-free zone where we can show up real, raw, honest, and vulnerable together. That's really important to me because if you don't feel safe, you can't grow. And so if you can put a 1 in the chat as you join, just saying that you're a safe person to be around, and that also means you're going to kick your inner critic to the curb and you're going to show up and be a safe person for yourself. So approximately about 8 years ago, I remember I had recently changed a lot of my pricing. My prices had increased quite a bit. I changed the complete structure of my business, the way I operated my appointments, and therefore resulting in a completely different experience for my client, as well as a price change. Now, I had a whole pathway system that I created with my communication where I made sure to let my clients be aware of the price or a quote of what their hair would cost them beforehand, because I had learned the wrong way that, or I learned the hard way of like not having the conversation about cost of their hair until the end was really silly because their hair's already done and they should know the cost, and that's really unfair to a client to not understand what the price is. And so I communicated the price of their service at the beginning. I said it's going to be between, I think it was like $500 and $600. I was like, obviously that's depending on how much product I use, if we have to spend a little bit more time. I always give a quote in a range, and my aim and what I communicate to my clients is I'm always going for the low end, but I'm quoting the high end just in case something that I'm not prepared for, didn't expect, happens. And so I always try to quote high and keep a range. So I told this client between $500 and $600. Finish her hair, we were able to end at the low end of it. It was just over $500. It was the first time I was charging someone over $500 for a hair color. I was sweating buckets. I was like, who do you think you are? And like I had gone through, and this is like the pricing method that I teach inside of my programs. It's called Metrics That Matter. You go through and like I had learned, it's not like I was like gouging, but the thought of like the $500 scared me so much. This number scared me because I was like, the client's going to think I'm gouging them. Although I had done reverse engineered my numbers to know that the time that I spent, the product that I used, the rent on my building, like all of this stuff, I was giving myself a very fair wage, and it was a fair price to my clients for the time, the skill, the knowledge, the product that I was using. And that's something that I see a lot of people not doing because in this creative field, we're not numbers people. So I'd come to a fair price, but I was still nervous about it because it sounded big. And even though my client had been completely prepared for it, I was still nervous. So I just like handed her the debit machine and gave it to her. And she went, wow, I've never spent this much on my hair before in my life. And in that moment, I was like ready for a fight. I was like ready to like, bitch, you agreed to it. And at the same time, I was also ready to be like, you know what, I'll just take $40 off. If you relate to this, put a 1 in the chat. It's like you're annoyed and you want to like be confrontational, but at the same time, I'm not a confrontational person naturally. And so I was like angry. And then I was like, oh my gosh, she's probably right. I probably shouldn't be charging this. Like, who am I to be charging over $500? It was totally like this mindset thing of like $500 is like way too much for someone to ever spend on their hair. And this belief of like someone had obviously said that to me at one point of like, you maybe heard someone say you're too expensive, or you've heard someone say, like hairstylists or whatever service you provide charge too much these days. I'm so sorry if you guys can hear my dog barking in the background. Hopefully he'll stop soon. And so there's this like limiting belief that I was worthy of charging that much. And so I was like, maybe she's right.
And all she had said was, wow, I've never paid this much for my hair before. And what I did is I just decided I was in this new phase of learning. Instead of reacting, I wanted to learn to respond. And responding comes from a place of like not letting your reflex dictate your action. And so our brains learn quicker than our reflexes. I want you guys to know this. And so when you learn something new, you still might go back into old reflexes. So like I said, I wanted to be like, I can't believe she would say that, like she's never spent this much before when we agreed to it. But I just paused and I let myself take a breath. And then she continued to say, but I've never loved my hair this much before in my life. And I realized in that moment that her just making the statement, wow, I've never paid this much for my hair before, made me question if I was charging too much, because I already felt insecure about it. You only question what someone says when you're already feeling insecure about something that they're talking about. If I didn't feel insecure about the price, her saying, wow, I've never paid this much for my hair before, wouldn't have affected me. I would have been like, oh, really? Cool. Statement. It's a statement. It's a fact. She's never paid this much before. But my insecurity went, oh my God, she's mad. She thinks it's too much. Like all the narratives in my head, I started to project onto her. Oh, she's upset that it's too much. And let me know if you've ever done this. You've assumed that someone's complaining. You've assumed that someone's getting after you. You've gotten defensive because you're already feeling insecure about the thing. And so her making the statement, hi Michelle, her making the statement, wow, I've never spent this much on my hair before, was literally just a statement. She wasn't saying it was too much. She wasn't saying she wasn't okay with it. She wasn't saying that I shouldn't be charging that. She was literally making a statement. And if I would have let my insecurities win, going, oh my God, she's probably, like, I try to assign a meaning underneath what she was saying, which we all do, we all assume, then I could have, I wanted to take $40 off her appointment, but I didn't. I paused and she went, but I've never loved my hair this much before. And so she was just thinking out loud. And how often do you emotionally discount before someone even says something, going, oh my gosh, there's that number. Like, I'm curious, those of you guys that are service providers, what's the dollar amount that scares you to charge over? For over 10 years of my career, it was over $200 scared me. I did not like charging someone over $200. And I remember one time having a client who bought 5 products. So she had a cut and a color and then 5 products, which took her over $200. This was like in 2010. And I was like, oh my God, I'm so scared. Like, she's going to be mad. And so I emotionally discounted her service because she was buying product. And it made me uncomfortable to state her total. And so if you're emotionally discounting, it may be less about people expecting a discount. I mean, the whole friends and family thing we can talk about as well. And I'm curious that you guys, like, I feed off of your energy. So the more you participate in this and the more you like give me feedback, I can take this to where you need it to go and what you need to hear and what you need help on right now. But I'm curious, and I want you guys to start looking at it. Are you emotionally discounting to help somebody, or are you assuming they can't afford it because they're coming in and saying money's tight, or they're coming in and saying their husband lost his job, and like, or like, this was happening all through, that last couple of years of that pandemic where like people were tight on budgets, but like they're still coming in expecting to pay you. And so you making an assumption that someone can't afford it, or you making an assumption that they are not going to pay full price, or you making an assumption at all rather than asking for clarity. A lot of times your clients come in and they vent and they share with you about their struggles, but they're not expecting something, but you putting the pressure on yourself. And so I've learned to take everything at face value. And if someone's trying to be sly or trying to, covertly be manipulative, even if it's on an unconscious level on their part, if they're trying to like see like, okay, if I tell them that the budget's tight, will they like give me a discount? Then it's on you to be like, hey, I know you said your budget's tight. I just want to make sure that you're still good to, you booked in for this service. I'm going to make the assumption that you're good with the price of this service. And if you start to feel that insecurity of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to have to discount them, or oh my gosh, they're expecting a discount, or I feel bad charging them because they're in a bad financial place, you need to stop putting that, like, you need to stop sabotaging your business and your income to try to soothe someone else's emotions. And I know it's hard when we're really empathetic people. But a lot of times it's less about the empathy and more about the wanting people to be happy and like us. And you fear that by charging someone full price, they're going to be upset, and you want to make someone happy. And by giving them an emotional discount that they might be like, oh my gosh, thank you. That's so kind of you. You know that I'm in a bad place. And that validation that you get from that client, it feels so good in the moment, but it's very fleeting, because unless you work on the self-worth piece and the self-trust to know and trust that you're worth it and you are able to charge that much, which when you go through my pricing method, you learn to understand why your prices are where they are, and every time you emotionally discount, how much you're actually taking out of your pocket. Because here's the thing, you can emotionally discount for your client, but your landlord's not emotionally discounting your rent, right? Like your color or I'm talking from the hairstylist perspective, like you can take that money off your client to make them feel better, but is any of your suppliers doing that for you? No, because business is business, and I know that's really hard. And I do teach business from a very different perspective, and I teach it for the anxious, ambitious entrepreneur. Most of us having ADHD, that you are in this because it's not just about the service you do, but the people you care for. But your caring and your empathetic nature should not sabotage your financial future. You can still be very, very empathetic and very caring for your clients while still charging full price. Learn the hard way that emotional discounting leads to resentment. Hells yes. Because it's like you're waiting for this person. It's like when people like don't communicate, right? And then it's like expecting the other person to understand what they're feeling or where they're coming from. And when you don't communicate something, it leads to resentment and bitterness. And it eventually burns you out. Yeah. And so Burgundy, you said wow. I'm curious what you said wow to. And so hi Tamara. So I'm really curious, what is the emotion that you're going through? And I have some notes from a call that I was on with someone yesterday that I want to like kind of go over and share with you. But I want to ask you guys this morning, what is the emotion that goes, or what's the thought that runs through your mind when you decide to emotionally discount someone's service? Because I did a poll of over 1,000 beauty professionals. And I'm curious, let's just do a poll in here today. How full effort for full price equal energy exchange? Fuck yeah, I love that. The suitcase barber. I'm curious. Let's do some quick math. On average, how many emotional discounts do you give out a week? Just put the number in the chat, because we're going to do some mental math. Actually, I'm going to get my computer open here, and I'll do actually with a calculator, because this is going to be the most eye-opening thing for you ever. On average, how many emotional discounts do you give a week? And then at what price? So 5 to 6, says Betty. And then what price? See if I can get my password's not working for my computer, you guys. It's because I'm trying to think and talk. Okay, 5 to 6. $50 to $100, and then 2 at an average of $90 at an emotional discount. 2 now, once or twice a month. Okay, probably 2 now, once or twice a month. Okay, that's good. That's better. Maybe twice a month to a family at 50% off. Okay, so 5 to 6 at $50 to $100. So we're gonna say 5.5 on your average at $75. That's a week, right, Betty? And so I'm going to get my calculator out because I'm not good at mental math, you guys. But this is the craziest part that's gonna blow your mind. So if you're doing, come on, calculator, 5.5 emotional discounts a week on average at an average of $75, that's $412 a week. What would you do with an extra $412 a week? And then if we say you work 50 weeks a year, you take 2 weeks vacation. So times that by 50 weeks. Do you want to know how much money that is, Betty? That's $20,625 that you're emotionally discounting throughout the year. What would you do if you had $20,000 at the end of this year? And see, this is where I have my policy pathway program that I'm going to be opening up in a container, and this is a thing that I'm going to help you. So the policy pathway is it's a paid container. It's a fraction of that cost. My purpose is to get that money back in your business. And so let's go for Tamara. You said it's about 2 a month. It used to be 2 a week. So let's figure out the 2 a week at $90. So that's $180 a week. Let's say 50 weeks a year. That was $9,000 a year. You said it's more like 2 a month now. So if it's 2 a month at 90, that's still $2,100, not including late cancels and no-shows. And so my policy pathway program, you guys, it's hard. What would you do? And so I always say, what's that worth? Because I teach from a place, and my education's not going to be for everybody, obviously, but I teach from a place of learning how to communicate compassionately and clearly and directly that elicits understanding response. Because here's the thing, what I'm going to make an educated guess on, and Betty, it's Betty T. I hope your name is Betty. Like the $20,000. I mean, that it could give or take a little bit. Obviously, this is averages. And Tamara, like 9,000 it used to be, 2,100. Like, this is where I'm so passionate about helping you guys learn how to stop emotionally discounting, charge full price, and enforce your policies. Because on average, when I pulled over 1,000 beauty professionals, the average amount of non-charged late cancels and no-shows and emotional discounting on average was $15,600. When we added up all the late cancels, no-shows, on average, that meant some people were more and some people were less. But even if it's like 2,000, 5,000, or it's 20,000, that money should be back in your business. And so ask yourself why, and you know it's losing you money. Seeing the total, that's gut-wrenching. No shame in this game. Here's the reality, and this is where I'm going to help you understand why it keeps happening, because I don't want you beating yourself over shame. The reality is in that moment, the threat of a confrontation and an unpredictable response from your client is way more scary than losing the money. And so in that knee-jerk moment, when you need to make a decision of, am I going to charge them full price? Or am I going to charge them the late cancel or the no-show? You don't care about that $20, $40, $90, $150. You want to feel safe. And that's why I talk about building a safe space and a judgment-free zone in my lives, because if you don't feel safe, you can't grow and you can't do the things. And so what the policy pathway is going to be doing when I'm sharing it more with you, when you guys understand how to create a communication pathway with your clients from confidence, building that confidence inside yourself to communicate in a way that isn't going to create a combative or a response or a conflict or confrontation, but it's going to create understanding so that you can confidently share why you're charging the no-show, why you're no longer giving someone a discount, so that you're not losing money, but you feel safe doing so. You're not terrified of an unpredictable response. It makes sense. At some point, confrontation or the threat or the possibility of confrontation was so scary to you that your nervous system has learned to do whatever it takes to feel safe. So please stop shaming yourself for emotionally discounting. Please stop shaming yourself for not following through on your policies. Please stop shaming yourself for not telling your old clients about your new pricing structure, but only charging new clients your new pricing structure. It's because your nervous system has, at some point in your life, this has served you in a way to keep you feeling safe. So I want you to have compassion for that part of yourself. And then let yourself know, I'm safe now, and start to develop the communication, whether it's through working with me in the policy pathway or whether it's through something else. Honestly, asking yourself, like, what's it worth? Is it worth it to learn how to do this? And I mean, taking programs, I always say, like, how easy is it for us to drop $500? Those of you guys, I don't know if we're all hairstylists, but hairstylists, estheticians, service providers, how easy is it to drop $500 on a technique course? Because it's like, well, it's developing my skills. I'm going to be able to better do my service. But why don't you drop $500? It's like you don't even think to drop $500. I know this was me, $500 on a technique class. But to spend $500 on a business class that's going to bring back $20,000, $10,000, $5,000 back into my business, why do we have such a hard time justifying that? And I'm genuinely curious because I'm trying to figure out, like, I think because the technique class feels more tangible, and the business class, there's a bit more accountability. Maybe it's because the technique class, it's what comes natural and it's what's fun and it's what we enjoy. The business class, the policy class, the clientele building class feels like, ooh, that's not really like what I want to do, right? But it's an important part and it's not hard. Does it take effort? Yes. Is it simple? 100%. You're actually overcomplicating it, making it harder and stressing yourself out way more. I have a client, I'm doing her hair for free, but she hasn't kept up her end of the deal. I don't want to do her hair, but she's also about to lose her house. What the fuck do I do? Oh, Burgundy, we need to get, like, I'm going to be, so those of you guys that are in the client magnet right now, there's going to be a special, I mean, I know I talked to Tamara about this yesterday. There's going to be a special rate for you guys to come into the policy pathway. I'm doing a live. I've switched up my education where I'm doing more live containers on specific topics because we need to go deep on them. Is anyone terrified of bad reviews? That's part of why. Oh, okay. So I teach exactly why a bad review, how to deal with it, and how it actually benefits your business. And so you don't have to be scared of them. Tamara, this is something that I actually have inside of the policy pathway, and it's going to be amazing, because a bad review, I know that feeling of being terrified of a bad review. But I will break down how to navigate a bad review and why it's actually good for your business. Keep spreading the good word. You know what's up. Thank you. You guys don't need to be scared of bad reviews. I know, but I mean, it's easy to understand that. Trust me. When you see the approach to bad reviews that I share and I teach, that course is on my priority list to save for. Absolutely. I know, Tamara, you're gonna get so many new clients in your business from the client magnet that then the policy pathway ain't gonna be no thing. It's already done. It's already happened. Love my top. I feel like it's a very booby top this morning. I'm like, I don't know. I grew up very conservative Christian. I didn't, I remember in high school, this is totally side tangent, I had a dress like this, and, my mom's like, I don't know if you should wear that out, and I had to put like a thing on underneath. And so it's like this kind of top. Thank you. I'm just gonna say thank you and not justify. See, so I still struggle with my own shit. But realizing that your fear of confrontation is less about the fear of the other person doing something, and it's more you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe you're worthy, and you don't trust yourself. The fear of confrontation, I don't know what makes that happen on the screen. The fear of confrontation, the fear of an unpredictable response, is actually a fear that you don't know how to communicate clearly enough what's going on, and you don't believe you're worthy of standing up next to someone. You're actually terrified. When you are afraid of conflict, you're actually scared of someone confirming the fear you have around that subject. So if it's emotionally discounting and you're scared of someone confronting you about whoa, or maybe it's sharing your new price increase, or maybe it's enforcing your policy. If you're scared of a confrontation, it's because you're actually scared that you're not worthy of following through on it. You're scared that you haven't communicated well enough, or you haven't gone about it the right way. And so when you build the confidence in yourself, which is how I now work as a mentor and as a coach, when you actually learn to have that confidence inside you, which is born from courage and vulnerability. Confidence isn't ego. Confidence is being vulnerable and being courageous. When you develop the skill of confidence and showing up in your business and in your communication, you're not scared of confrontation, because you're only scared of confrontation because you're scared they're right. You're scared that if they come back at what you're saying, that there's a belief inside of you that, oh no, they're right. Does that make sense? You guys tracking that? The fear of confrontation is actually a fear that your insecurity is going to be proven right. That you're not worthy, that you can't trust yourself, and that you're not allowed to do what you're wanting to do. Hopefully that's helpful. Does that resound with you guys? Because that fear of confrontation, you don't fear someone confronting you if you feel completely solid in something, right? I'm trying to think of an example. It's like if you have a baby and someone's mistreating it, you love that baby so much, you'd be like, please don't do that. And if they're like, what, I'm allowed to shake your baby. That is such a terrible example, FYI. But if someone is, say, shaking your baby, what an awful, I don't know why that's the Venus. Or someone's talking badly to a baby and you're like, hey, that's my baby, please, don't. And they're like, no, I'm allowed to. You would have no issue to be like, stop. It's like, this is your baby. This is you're protecting it. And you're confident that you don't want someone talking shit to your baby. Sometimes my analogies don't work. Bye. You're welcome. We'll talk to you soon, Tamara. So when you're confident in something, conflict and confrontation, you're not scared of. You don't like it, but you're not scared of it. You're not worried. But when you're insecure about something, or what I was sharing with you guys earlier was when my client went the first time I charged over $500 and a client said, wow, I've never paid this much for my hair before. I got defensive. Well, she knew the price ahead of time. We talked about the price ahead of time. How can she be contesting it? She literally made a statement. Wow, I've never paid this much for my hair before. And I was insecure about my pricing. And so all my defenses went up and I was almost ready to fight. But then I was like, oh, maybe I should just discount it a little bit. Maybe I should just, I don't know. And then what happened was I paused and she went, oh, but I've never loved my hair this much before. And I realized in that moment, my insecurities were dictating how I heard what she said. I was hearing things through the lens of insecurity. Make sense? Clear as mud? Questions, comments, concerns? Let me know in the comments. I'm here for you guys. Let's hear it. Or no, or radio silence. I've got my coffee and I've got my smoothie. If you have any questions about emotionally discounting, let me know. The magic of the pause. I mean, Alyssa, seriously, the magic of the pause. Mind blown. I love that. So if you guys are interested in the policy pathway, what's happening right now, and I always teach taking messy, immediate, imperfect action. I'm going to be hosting a live container of it in September. But what it's going to look like is if you want to get a special access, early access now, it's just a muscle I have to work. Hell's yes, Burgundy, it is. You can join now and you'll get all the previous lessons, and then you'll also join the group container. So you'll get all the previous lessons, and then we're going to be doing it live and going more in depth. I did a color correction. It was $550. It was $100 an hour, and it was about 5.5 hours. The client made a comment like that, and I never saw her again. Yeah, and so learning how to communicate and learning how to have them understand ahead of time is always really huge. And that's where in the policy pathway, I teach a communication pathway technique to making sure clients are on board, Shane. I love that. I mean, I don't love that they never came back, but sometimes when clients don't understand, or when we say $100, I don't know the ins and outs, but if a client doesn't understand $100 an hour and it might take this long, it can sometimes communication breakdown. It's tough. But I hope you guys see that you're not afraid of conflict. You're scared of someone proving your insecurities right. And that's fair because the self-worth, the self-esteem, the self-trust, the self-belief hasn't been there. And I'm here to show you that you can get it. You can become confident. You are worthy of that respect that you crave. You can have that respect. I know you're scared of losing clients. And that's terrifying. But I tell you, it's like I always think of the person who's scared to lose the love interest by saying no to something, when really when you put boundaries up, it pushes the wrong people away that were never going to respect you. And so by putting boundaries up, I always think talking about it in romantic relationships, you put boundaries up, and if a person's hell no, I'm not okay with that, then you didn't want that person in your business anyway. You didn't want that person to date you anyway. But if you put boundaries up, it makes someone respect you more that wants to respect you, but you just have to teach people how to treat you. You have to teach people how to treat you. Yeah. Oh, I did explain it before, and she said, okay. Yeah, that's tough. All right. That's it for this morning. We have to teach people how to treat us. We have to get out of our own way of worrying that people are going to confirm our worst fear. And you do this through learning how to communicate clearly, compassionately, and assertively, but not aggressively. And I know you can do it. Doing that math this morning, wow, $20,000 a year you could have back in your business from emotional discounting. $9,000 for another person. Ask yourself, what's that worth? Is it worth learning how to communicate more clearly? Is it worth learning how to show up more confidently in how you do things? You've got this, friend. I know you do. You have everything inside you that you need already to achieve this. I'm really proud of you for where you are already and what you've done. And I'm really excited to see where you go. All right, until next time, stay happy and stay weird. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast and for tuning into Business Breakfast and Bedhead. Like I said, I would love for you to join me live on these over on Instagram. So once again, just look up Dawn Bradley and let's connect. Shoot me a DM, send me a screenshot, tag me in your stories of listening to this or what you took away from this. Those comments, that feedback really makes my day and helps me know that these things are landing and that you want to hear more. I do these lives and I do this podcast for you to help you, and your feedback means the world to me. And if you enjoyed this episode, help me spread the love. Share it with a friend, a coworker, family member, or leave a review. And make sure you subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future episodes. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. Until then, friend, stay weird.